Death is one of the greatest mysteries of human existence, the inevitable fate that unites every living being. Whenever humanity is confronted with what cannot be fully understood, the origin of the world, the nature of the soul, the question of what happens after death, the unconscious responds by producing symbols. This is why every culture, across all epochs, has developed myths of the afterlife. These myths are not arbitrary inventions, but recurring symbolic patterns that express a fundamental concern of the human condition. Life after death is what Carl Jung called a mythologem, a universal idea rooted in the structure of the psyche itself. Psychologically, this is an archetype, a primordial image, an inherited pattern of experience shared by all humanity. Religion, myth, fairy tales, fantasies, and above all dreams are indispensable for understanding what the unconscious, our instinctive psychic layer, has to say about death. While mythological systems pass through cultural filters that may obscure their original meaning, dreams arise spontaneously. They are unprejudiced expressions of the unconscious and may therefore be our most objective window into the psychological reality of death. Dreams cannot be manipulated except in rare cases of lucid dreaming. They are not invented, they simply occur. They are not there to satisfy intellectual curiosity, but to convey what is necessary. Jung described dreams as the voice of nature within us. Instead of imposing rigid theories onto dreams, Jung developed the method of amplification, placing dream images alongside parallels from mythology, religion, folklore, and history in order to deepen their meaning. If a bird appears in a dream, one asks what birds have symbolized across human history. In this way, the dream's message becomes clearer. Most discussions of death focus on conscious attitudes, observable behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. Far less attention is given to what occurs in the depths of the unconscious. This question, what do dreams tell us about death, led Jungian analyst Marie-Louise von Franz to write her groundbreaking work on dreams and death. Together with her colleagues, she later collected around 2,500 dreams in a project known as the Alchemy of Death. The result was remarkable. Not a single dream depicted death as a final annihilation. Every dream pointed instead toward transformation, transition, or continuation. From her work with elderly and terminally ill patients, von Franz observed that the unconscious behaves as if life continues beyond bodily death. As Jung emphasized, the unconscious pays surprisingly little attention to the abrupt end of physical existence. It acts as though the individuation process, the lifelong movement toward wholeness, simply goes on. In this sense, the unconscious quite clearly believes in life after death. Dreams consistently portray death not as an end, but as a passage. The difficulty we have in imagining life after death arises largely from our identification with the body. While alive, we experience ourselves as physical beings and therefore assume that when the body ends, everything ends. Hindu philosophy addresses this directly by teaching detachment from the ahamkara, the everyday ego, and identification with the Atman, the true self that transcends the body. The veil of Maya creates the illusion that the material world is ultimate reality, while in truth, the Atman is identical with Brahman, the Absolute. Modern research into near-death experiences echoes these ancient insights. In 1975, psychiatrist Raymond Moody coined the term near-death experience, identifying common features reported by people who were clinically dead and revived: observing the body from outside, overwhelming peace, freedom from pain, passage through darkness or a tunnel, encounters with beings of light, life reviews, and the feeling of being at home in a realm more real than ordinary reality. Subsequent research suggests that consciousness may not be produced by the brain, but transmitted through it, like a receiver. Many NDE survivors report reluctance to return, as if they had crossed a threshold beyond which return would be impossible. Jung himself experienced this during a heart attack in 1944. When told by his doctor that he had to return to life, he felt profound disappointment. Ordinary reality appeared artificial, a gray world and a box system. It was as if consciousness had been tuned down to lower frequencies and confined once again to space and time. From this perspective, material existence appears to lie below a certain threshold of psychic intensity. The unconscious, however, is not bound by space and time, and therefore may not be affected by death in the way the body is. During his recovery, Jung felt depressed during the day, but experienced overwhelming visions at night, states in which past, present, and future merged into a single whole. In many NDEs and death-related dreams, the ego encounters what Jung called the self, the total personality. Sometimes this appears as an inner guide or being of light. In other cases, the ego partially merges with it. This relationship is central to individuation. If the ego identifies completely with the self, it becomes inflated. If it is too far from the self, life feels empty and meaningless. Among the thousands of dreams von Franz studied were a small number of precognitive death dreams, dreams that preceded the dreamer's actual death. Even these did not depict extinction, but continuation. Von Franz stressed that no psychologist should tell a dying person what to believe. Instead, one should help the individual understand their own dreams and allow meaning to arise naturally. Dreams often prepare us for death, just as they prepare us for other major life transitions. Some are brutally honest, stripping away illusions. Others are consoling, helping a person die in peace. Not all dreams of death signify literal death. Some serve as a memento mori, awakening deeper living. From midlife onward, such dreams become more frequent, reflecting a natural shift from external achievement toward inner completion. Death, psychologically, is an opus magnum, a great work unfolding throughout the second half of life. Across cultures, death dreams are filled with recurring symbols, journeys, thresholds, vegetation, fire, light, stones, and fruit. Vegetation appears repeatedly, trees cut down yet growing again, fields destroyed yet sprouting anew, suggesting that something essential remains underground, capable of renewal. Fire appears as both destruction and purification. After everything is burned away, something indestructible remains. This indestructible core is symbolized in alchemy as the philosopher's stone, the self. Alchemical texts explicitly state that the stone withstands fire. Fruit is another powerful symbol. At the end of life, there is often a harvest, the fruit of conscious suffering, effort, and realization. Many traditions teach that consciously lived suffering is never wasted. It bears fruit in unseen dimensions of existence. Ultimately, all these dreams point in the same direction. What dies is the everyday ego concerned with trivial matters. What remains is an essential, purified core, the self. Conscious realization appears to be the true meaning of life. We are here to become aware. Every step toward awareness has universal consequences, even if invisible. Death dreams do not answer every question, but they show us this much. The unconscious does not depict death as annihilation. It depicts it as transformation. And in that transformation, something meaningful, individual, and eternal appears to endure.
Death is one of the greatest mysteries of human existence, the inevitable fate that unites every living being. Whenever humanity is confronted with what cannot be fully understood, the origin of the world, the nature of the soul, the question of what happens after death, the unconscious responds by producing symbols. This is why every culture, across all epochs, has developed myths of the afterlife. These myths are not arbitrary inventions, but recurring symbolic patterns that express a fundamental concern of the human condition. Life after death is what Carl Jung called a mythologem, a universal idea rooted in the structure of the psyche itself. Psychologically, this is an archetype,
a primordial image, an inherited pattern of experience shared by all humanity. Religion, myth, fairy tales, fantasies, and above all dreams are indispensable for understanding what the unconscious, our instinctive psychic layer, has to say about death. While mythological systems pass through cultural filters that may obscure their original meaning, dreams arise spontaneously. They are unprejudiced expressions of the unconscious and may therefore